our weekly podcast where we talk about everything VR and today AR and XR. I am PJ. Joining me
I'm
is Wookiee.
Wookiee.
And we're joined here by, sorry, my headset went goofy. Danny Parks, VP of Tech at Trigger XR. Welcome, Danny.
Hey, great. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for joining us. Lot to talk about. So one thing I want to start with, VP of Tech. What does that mean, and what do you do?
So I am the Vice President of Technology for Trigger. Trigger is we call ourselves the mixed reality agency. We're kind of a little bit of a non-traditional ad agency. We do mostly software development, and we specialize in mixed reality, and that includes everything across the spectrum from AR to VR to mixed reality, really anything that is cool and digital. We want to be a part of it. And as the VP of Tech, I oversee our engineers and our development team.
That's awesome. And you guys have your digital hands in a lot of things. Like there's a lot of companies like Lego and Marvel and all kinds of stuff that it's dear to my heart. So I'm glad to talk to you guys about it and see all the different applications. Like you mentioned, like there's a lot of different things you guys do, and it all looks really good. So happy to talk about it.
Thank you. For sure. Yeah. I mean, I guess where do you want to start? We've done a lot of work.
So maybe real quick, like how did Trigger get started? And I think you've been there like 10 years. Like, have you been there from the start? And like, how did everything evolve over that decade?
Yeah, that's a great question. No, so I haven't been there since the beginning. I have been there, I think I want to say 9 years now. So it feels like forever, but Trigger actually had its 17th anniversary yesterday.
Wow.
Or I guess two days ago. I've kind of lost track of time, but yeah, we've been around for a while. We started out as kind of a more traditional, like website design studio, building sites for film and television. We've been like really heavily involved in basically every Spider-Man movie since the beginning. Yeah.
Nice.
And so we started there, and then I want to say just before I joined, we really started to kind of shift our focus away from traditional HTML sites and move into the AR space. Our first AR project was for District 9.
Nice.
Yeah, it was. I didn't. It was before my time, but it was using webcams and kind of traditional, like print out an image target on your printer at home when everyone had a printer at home, and then hold it up to your webcam. And so that was kind of like a very early taste of what AR would come to be, and we've been kind of all in on it since. Actually, the first project I worked on when I joined Trigger. So I show up on my first day at Trigger, and they're walking me around the studio, and they sit me down and they say, "Okay, hey, we're working on a project for the World Cup with McDonald's." I'm like, "Okay, cool. We're in the big leagues. I love it." And they say, it is using brand new technology from Vuforia, and I'd been familiar with kind of the traditional, scan an image target, CAR stuff. But this was, you scan not just like an image target. It was, custom made fry boxes, and they made millions of them. And there was an image target on each fry box, and there was, I think, 14 different image targets, unique to kind of each location. And that was going to be the goal. Like you flick a little ball into the goal. All right, cool.
Nice.
I'm with you. I can do this. No problem. And then they say, we are going to use not just regular image targets, but we're going to use smart terrain. And smart terrain is, you are going to be able to scan anything on the surface that you're playing on, be it a fry box, a cup, a piece of trash, your shoe, whatever, and that's going to become part of the play space.
That's
And I
awesome.
was like, that is super cool. I hope I don't get that part of this job because I have no idea how to do that. And of course, that was the thing that became my piece. And like, all right, now that sounds like fairly rudimentary with things like AR Foundation and LiDAR and all the tools that we have now. But this was in 2013, and we're running on like iPhone 6 is kind of like state of the art. And I was like, oh my goodness, how are we going to do this? And it worked out pretty well. I would love to redo it now with the tools that we have available, but it was and I don't know, that's why I love triggers, because we're always like right on the edge of what is technically possible, and really pushing those boundaries. And you look at the stuff and it's like, okay, that was kind of cool. Today that would be kind of cool, but 9 years ago it was kind of like, whoa, how do you do that?
Yeah.
It was like in 20, I think it was 19, I was just starting to play with AR Foundation and Unity, and it's still,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it's where it's at right now. I haven't looked at it lately, but it was still kind of like, not everything's there, but it was kind of
Yep.
fun to tinker with and play with, get an app on the phone. That was 6 years later than what you're talking about.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah. I mean, at the time it was like, we were talking about image targets as being kind of, or no, I'm sorry, cylinder targets. Cylinder targets were kind of the new hotness. We'd had flat targets for a long time, but now we were thinking about curved targets. And just to kind of imagine, they still have their place and everything, but, just imagine like what we're doing with, semantic scene understanding and being able to, figure out what's in the world around you, not just, hey, what is this one? Oh, I know that I'm supposed to look for that book, and I don't know anything else about anything else in the world, but now I can do body tracking and pose estimation, figure out what is in front of what with depth masking and all kinds of stuff. And it's really a very different landscape from a technology standpoint.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. I can imagine, like you said, going back and doing that again with all the new stuff and what a difference that would make. But yeah.
Sometimes,
Go ahead.
sometimes it makes me go back and think, like, I was in 3D animation school way back, and that was even way after like Bug's Life
Mm-hmm.
and stuff. And it's like, you think, well, the little Pixar lamp logo, I mean, I can animate in 3D, but it's like, I don't know how they made that before Maya, Like,
Right.
what did they do? What did you do?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's the pace of technology is just kind of incredible. And, you can always go back and look at those ideas that you pitched, and it's like, wait, that was going to be really hard then, but now, oh, well, we've got this, we've got the easy button to make that work now. Let's do it.
We're an asset store
Um,
too. Like, you,
yeah, oh, yeah.
$5.
Yeah. Yeah.
What's interesting to me about AR is, like, obviously we're in VR right now, and that's a niche, smaller market still, but it's it's growing
Mhm.
pretty quick. But like with what you guys are doing, like bringing that technology to people on a much bigger scale with like phone apps, and we'll
Mhm.
get to more, but you guys are touching like clothing, food, games, toys, like sports, like everything.
Yeah.
So I'm just curious, like, in your opinion, like, with what you guys do, does that bring more people into other forms like XR, VR type stuff, or does it make it at least the transition a little easier and people kind of understand things a little better than someone that hasn't played with anything? Do you think?
Oh,
Or
definitely. For sure. I mean, we look at, just kind of looking at the history of it, right? Initially, in order to do anything AR, you almost needed a full blown app every single time. And now we are getting into, you can do AR on the web, um, and a lot of that is down to, evolutions in technology. but also there's been kind of a groundswell in consumer understanding of what AR is and how to use it. And like we used to have to tell people, there was so much instruction that we'd have to give people about how to scan a thing, how to place an object in your space, and move around, and you can touch it, and like all of kind of these basic interactions that folks take for granted nowadays because they just have so much more familiarity with it. And we're in a little bit of a our own resonance chamber in that we talk to folks in the industry all the time, and there are your grandmother in Idaho may not know, but just the bar of where folks are at comfort wise has really raised. And I think a lot of it honestly is down to things like Snapchat, Facebook, Instagram, those mass market reach platforms that have really taken advantage of AR and adding digital content to camera feeds. And they've, like some of the stuff that Snap does is, it is hard to compete with from just a pure computer science standpoint. They have some really incredible engineers doing some really incredible stuff. And it's a little bit weird to think about it like that from, like, oh, for a long time in my head, Snap was, the folks who just made, selfie camera, right?
Yeah.
But then, when you look at what they are doing, with the, on a 12-year-old Android device, they can do, body tracking or, semantic segmentation, of any kind of ML model. And it's like, wow, really? All right. Tell me how.
I follow on Twitter, like did a full body scan of, I think it was like one of the original Ninja Turtle movie, like suits.
Mm-hmm.
Put that in there, and then she was body tracking with that and dancing.
Yeah.
And I was like, if you didn't know any better, it kind of looked like the scene of the movie because the scan was so good and the animation was fun. I was like, what the hell?
Yeah, I
like,
think the original Ninja Turtles movie had worse animation than that.
Yeah. The puppets or the suits the way they were, yeah.
Yeah.
That was the first
That's
I heard
funny,
like Snapchat was doing anything like that, and I was like, oh, what the hell?
Yeah. It's funny because like I'm an old man, so when you say Snapchat, I cringe just a little bit. But then, like you said, like they're doing such insane things. Like you got to give them props because
oh yeah,
that's some crazy stuff going on.
Well,
Only
and
say prop.
Oh, sorry.
Just kidding.
and that's one of the things that I look at is, where are people finding this technology, right? Like where are, we want to go and meet people where they're at, right? We don't necessarily want to go and like have to invent an audience, right? We want to find the folks that are out there, show them, meet them where they're at, and then build cool things for where they're at. And like you were asking earlier about like, how does that kind of translate and bridge the gap to say something like this, where it's full VR? The path there for me is pretty clear, right? Right now, the limitation on why isn't every VR space just chock full of people is because of the hardware, right? Like not everybody's got it. It's kind of expensive. You can only use it in a limited environment, but just about every single person on the planet has a smartphone, right?
Yep. Yeah.
What happens when the way that we connect with information transitions from a little screen that you hold in your pocket to a pair of glasses or a screen that is constantly on your face, right?
Yeah.
And that I think is, that next giant leap that we're all kind of like holding our breath for. I was optimistic. I heard rumors that I got, Apple's pushing it again a little further down the line. But, when someone like an Apple or a Google finally says, this is it, and gets that kind of buy-in on it, I can really just imagine, how that is going to change not just the way we experience digital content, but the way we experience the entire world around us.
Yeah.
At that point, like an entire sector of, not that I want to be rude to anybody, but fanboys, they could have been crapping on, I don't know, like VR, for example. And as soon as somebody like Apple buys in, then, well, it must have been a good thing the whole time. They've just been waiting for it. It's going to be great because their buddies bought into it or their
Yeah.
favorites bought into it. So then that's just like, boom, flood.
Yeah. And like I get the feeling that, folks are looking at VR and like, yeah, that is cool, but it's niche, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
just trying to get folks into it. We've had a similar kind of audience issue where we can get, installations, and people love VR for installations, because it is a very, like, you're in total control, right? Like you can build whatever set you want, you can build whatever experience you want. The downside is the throughput, right? Like you got to get people in the headsets and out of the headsets. But it is, totally mind blowing for those folks who do get to experience it. But you try and do that with, mass market appeal, and it is just a smaller audience, right? Less people have headsets than have phones.
Yeah. And like the Quest 1, I'm still rocking one. It's amazingly still works. But even the $300-$400 price point, can everybody just swing that? There's some people that can swing that all day long, and some people are like, yeah, it's gonna be eating ramen for a couple months. That's a huge, some people forget how it's like to live in certain ways, and it's a huge setback. So I like to keep the older hardware just to see how long it lasts before I have to buy new ones. Like I could go buy the Quest Pro, but it's kind of like, I'm kind of digging how much stuff still works on the Quest. So, but it's a big leap.
I really like, I want the Quest Pro. I don't have one yet, but I am super excited by that digital pass through. That is the one feature that I have been, like, give me that. That's what I really want.
We were first buying into VR headsets. I was trying to pick which one we wanted because, PJ and I were looking at both stuff. We ended up with the original Rifts, but then, Microsoft had the XR stuff for their MR, mixed reality headsets, and you could see like Minecraft stuff on your kitchen table. And I was like, where's that? Not available anywhere. Like there was like a concept, I guess. Like,
right.
Damn it. And now you can play that Demio game on your kitchen table. I'm like, ooh, there we go. That's going to be hard to get. It's rough. That's rough.
Yeah. I don't know. We do a lot of work with the different headsets out there, especially the optical pass-through ones like the HoloLens, Nreal, stuff like that. And I enjoy kind of that. I guess that sense that like the world is still out there, right? You're still in the physical space, and you can always look around and see what's around you. The thing that I don't love about it is that you can't really get fully immersive, right? You can't totally occlude the user's view. And there's still, a lot of physics to solve in how to get that field of view to get from, here to here. But, I am personally more excited about a digital pass-through just from the ability to say, like, you know what, I want to have complete right ability on anything that you're looking at, so that there isn't like, this is your safe space, right? And if you look away from it, content disappears. Because that really breaks that sense of immersion, and that edge is always right there.
Yeah.
You're always putting the fourth wall in somebody's face.
Yeah, we've talked about it with a couple of devs, and like I always like my, they're getting there, but like the mixture of AR and VR. Like I think the example is we playing Jurassic Park on a Quest, and my cat walks in the room. Like it should turn my cat into a dinosaur you know, just to keep the immersion going. But I also kind of know that's my cat. Don't step on it. Like,
Right.
you
Yeah.
know, just bringing the real world in without breaking immersion, like you're saying, like that's like my pinnacle. That'd be amazing. Like there's, oh, go ahead.
To that point with your cat walking through being a dinosaur, though, I get really immersed, like freaked out by games. Atmospheric stuff gets me. I might launch my cat through the window, like boot. You're like, oops, there goes Jerry, the cat. He's dead. Oops.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
There was like a little monster there. I'd kick him. I'd be like, oh no.
Yeah.
Oh,
But yeah, like with Pass-Through, there's a lot of like very creative people doing a lot of cool things. And you know, I just having the option of like, you know, shooting zombies from my couch in my own living room, but then also being able to hop into a totally enclosed space, like you're saying, like in VR, and being immersed and not seeing anything else. And
Mhm.
like, yeah, that's the goal.
want to shoot zombies in your own house, though? I don't know if I could.
Because
Depending
you
on
can
the-
sleep in that house again after you're dead.
Yeah.
Good point.
Yeah.
Good point.
Like how
That was just an
if it's
example.
if it's the funny zombies, like the Plants
Stoves.
vs Zombies ones, maybe. But if it's anything that's on a level of realism,
Okay,
might
I'd
throw
like to
the
play Demio in real life with people in the same room, but with a headset on, like so I can see my room, but not them. I guess.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I saw a headline. I haven't read the article, but about playing tabletop board games.
Yeah.
You know, with tabletop simulator, but in a physical space with physical pieces, and it's like, yes, that would be very cool. That'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And there's we look at it as there's a ton of entertainment stuff that feels like a gimme, right? That makes obvious sense. That would be very fun. But then you also look at like, how would it transform the way people live and work, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
If you're driving down the street, I don't know if this happens to me all the time, and I'm driving past something new, and it's a cool old building, and I'm like, I wish I knew what that was. Like, what is the history of that building? Who's in there now? And then just have the ability to, have that persistent geospatial information. I think it would really change the way people learn about the world
Yeah.
around them. There's a great XKCD comic about, what it was like pre-internet, and, to ask, oh, I wish I knew more about that. Oh, well, that's kind of too bad. But now you can Google stuff, and just imagine when, you don't have to pull a tiny slab of glass out of your pocket to find out another piece of information.
Yeah.
Yeah. And getting back to what you guys do, like all kinds of applications, like I said, clothing and sizing and just how it looks on you, because we all know like I have a problem where nothing looks good on me, so whatever. But just all those different applications that you can pull off just by a little creativity and kind of some thought on it. It's just like in your video here, like when you scan the Haagen-Dazs thing and it opens up into a store and you're looking at flavors and stuff, like all the neat stuff, but then like the information side of that too, like you're saying, just like the sky is the limit, and you guys seem to
Oh
be
yeah.
really hitting a lot of those chords and with a lot of different items. So
Yeah, well, and that's one of the things that I really like about what we do. Advertising is really about informing folks, right? So for Haagen-Dazs, like, we want to tell people the story and the history of Haagen-Dazs, right? Like, that's the cool part about their anniversary. And yeah, we want to make people excited about the product, and engage with the brand. But the reason that folks are interested in that kind of thing is because they're curious, and want to show them more information. Anytime where we got a lot of celebrity stuff up here too, Kirk Herbstreit, and a lot of sports figures, and being able to connect and engage with those personalities in kind of fun and playful ways.
Yeah.
That's super fun for people to be able to do that when, how often are you going to get to meet Megan Rapinoe, which, it's really cool. Just being able to use technology and take these create these digital artifacts that people can bring into their world and make part of their lives and create their own stories using this stuff is really fun.
Yeah. To be honest, like
Uh,
I'm not a sports person, but like if I could put on a pair of glasses and like have a cool enough interface and just kind of like read some stats and things, like I might be able to make it through a game if I had to,
oh
you
yeah.
know.
So this is a little bit of just kind of an anecdote, but we did a thing with the Dallas Cowboys, and it was live stats from the game. I know you're not much of a sports person, but if you go onto ESPN.com, they have a thing called Gamecast, and it's like a play-by-play kind of Twitter style feed of what's happening on every play. And the idea was to be able to kind of display that in AR, and plus it up with kind of the broadcast style graphics of like footballs flying around and confetti and all that stuff when cool things happened. And so we built this thing and we hooked into the data that's coming and feeding all of these different sports sites and broadcast things and things like that. And what was really interesting about it was that the data is, for the NFL, because of for a lot of reasons, the data that kind of depicts the information about the play, like Dak Prescott rolled out to the right and threw a 15-yard touchdown pass to Amari Cooper. All of that is typed in by some guy watching the game at the stadium. So there's there's some delay built into that. And then there's delay built into like, okay, it's got to get uploaded, it's got to hit the servers, and then it's got to get pinged out. And so when you were in stadium, and if you were like at the game and you had this open, with all those delays built in, you were maybe like a play or two, sometimes even 3 plays behind the live action when you were looking at it on your phone. But if you were at home watching the game on broadcast TV, because of the built-in broadcast delays, you were seeing the future, right? You're watching a live game and you knew what was going to happen on that play a couple of seconds before it came in. And it was like, wow, this feels very much like, we're in Minority Report and somebody's
Yeah.
telling me what's going to happen.
That's like reverse leg if you think about it. Like that's weird.
Yeah. Yeah.
Gal.
And like you were saying with the building you walk by, but that you could apply that to like museums and paintings and like music, like albums and like anything you could think of. You could do that with. That'd be really, really neat. It'd be really cool to see.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
This is turning into Watch Dogs a little bit. We can walk around, and you just
Yeah.
records start playing, and it's like, hey, let's go. Looks good on you. And you're like, get it off. Be weird.
It's funny. I used to look at technology and think like, okay, there is some stuff that is totally fantastical, and that will never happen. And I am starting to become less and less skeptical as time goes on. It's if somebody can dream it, it feels more like a matter of when than if at this point.
Yeah.
Some of the advances in ML have just kind of, well, if you can do that, what can't you do?
I just showed PJ like the AI art generator. Girlfriend's gonna take her into that, and
yeah.
she can draw, but she was like, let me see if I put my own picture in this and what it does, and it's like correcting some of her cloth folds, and she's like, you. But she was like, I don't really like to post my picture on the internet just because. She's like, I wanted to paint you, but I had to explain you because I knew you didn't want me to like upload the photos. So she just typed in an explanation of me, and I sent it to PJ. I'm like, how not how close it looks to me, but how good of a photo do you think it was? And there's this like perfect anime drawing that could be like a poster. It was like completely
Yeah.
perfect.
Wow.
No sixth
Wow.
finger, no nothing. And I was like, that's from like 8 words, and you just
Yep.
typed it in. Like, it's
Yeah.
getting
I
kind of
mean,
like spooky.
it is, one of those things where right now it feels very hard to grasp the extents to which this is going to change stuff, other than to know that it's going to be big.
Yeah.
We've been messing around with it a little bit, just from a standpoint of, we put a lot of imagery into our proposals and our pitch decks for our clients. And now when you can, take the idea that you come up with, write it out in a sentence, and then throw it into an AI image generator and get a visual representation, not just one, but, dozens of visual concepts back. It's like, okay, wow, how many hours would it have taken an
Yeah.
illustrator to go out and do that work? I am also crazy excited about not just what this means for 2D imagery, but for all kinds of digital content, right? If you can, um, describe a level layout, or even just, I would like a scene set in a Star Wars universe where the Mandalorian might fight a bunch of stormtroopers in a cantina, right? And instead of just a 2D image, can you have 3D geometry? Can you have set decoration? Can you have full characters? Can you have animation? Like, where is the limits on this stuff?
If you could
And
literally do it and just be like, let's have the fight from that 300 movie going on while we're talking, and they're like tripping over us and stuff. You're like,
yeah,
what do you do?
yeah,
But can you
right.
imagine, like, just
It'd be nuts.
hey, I'm gonna sit here and tell you a story, and then the AI just like builds the video for it while you're doing it. Like, that's
Right.
insane. It's creepy, like when that old guy on PBS would tell a story and that old lady was drawn in chalk, and like,
Nobody's gonna know what that is,
yeah,
but it was kind
that's
of cool.
old. Yeah.
Deep cut. I like it. Well, and for me, that I think is one of those things where we, from our current frame of reference, that feels very far out and wild, and but ask me in 5 years, right?
Yeah.
And it's going to be passe, and what we're going to be talking about is not just kind of the technical implementation of it, but where are the bounds creatively, right? Are we not asking for a an army of 300, right? Or the hot gates? What we are asking for is, we want a backdrop for this conversation, and it is taking who we are, our social media profiles, our preferences, and deciding what that should be, and generating it out of whole cloth, right? Looking at the audience who is watching, and figuring out what should we be talking about, like how is it going to steer the conversation, right?
Yeah.
Do we even need to get involved, right? Like, are these
Are we even necessary anymore? Yeah.
Yeah, is what I
Is
think
the AI
content.
watching?
If it is, all hail our robot overlords, but I think the way we think about content is fundamentally going to change in the next 10 years. Are we even really going to be talking about creators in the same way? Is it going to have the same meaning? And yes, I think there's always going to be a place for, the folks who have the skills that they have now, right? I think there's always going to, I mean, you look at, it's not like traditional painting has gone away because of Photoshop, right? But new tools allow folks to do new things. And I think there is going to be a seismic shift, an asteroid moment
Yeah.
in the way that we engage with digital content in the next 10 years.
Yeah, and I think a good example of that is VR, because like Rosie Summers or all those really talented VR painters like go like this and they zoom in and you're in like a freaking landscape,
Knowing you.
and it's like holy crap, and
Yeah,
then
we
they
watched
zoom
the
back
paint
out and
Mario
add to the world, and
Yeah,
like
it was nuts.
that's the stuff that blew my mind most about VR. Like when she was doing that and we were in there, and I was like, holy moly. Like I'm a gamer by history and not trade, but a long time gamer, and that's why I got into VR. But like all the other stuff is what has been exciting to me more than gaming, like art and you know dealing with therapies and all that other stuff. Like because there's just so many options, just like AR. Like there's so many use cases and different things you can do with it. But like what you're describing to me, I've already seen in VR, and it's blowing my mind. I'm like, how come no one else is talking about this? Like, it's
Yeah.
insane.
Well, and I think that is kind of the ultimate dream for a, a creator, is to be able to control, or control is maybe a strong word for it, but like um, be able to create every aspect of the world. Um, and whether you're a writer, whether you're a visual artist, performance artist, whatever, that is, you want to influence every aspect of somebody's experience. And I think VR is kind of the core tenet of it, is that we are able to shape every aspect of your reality. I think we're still waiting for that kind of physical feedback loop. um, getting some haptics in there is going to be, I think there's some electromechanical and some other physics to solve before that really comes to the point where we're all there. But yeah, I think the HMD revolution is nigh. How nigh, I'm not sure, but I think we're on the cusp, and I'm very excited for it.
Yeah, it's gonna be. I mean, you can't even imagine what's gonna come from it. But it's also like Wookiee and I was talking the other day about and I don't want to get too deep into this because it's not as fun to talk about, but like just digital security and like um I don't know what you call. I wouldn't want to say policing, but like laws and safety and all that wrapped around everything that's coming. And we're already behind on a lot of that stuff, and that's kind of scary. But
Mhm.
it's the other side of that coin that you got to think about too, and rights and all that stuff is
Oh yeah,
going to be
I
very
mean,
interesting.
absolutely. The laws that we have around now around IP and property ownership and all of that, those were written before computers, right? So how do you know, I think with AI especially, there's going to have to be whole new bodies of law and
Yeah.
precedent around how we handle this stuff before the dust settles. And I'm glad I'm not a lawyer, but it's going to be complicated. And I don't know what the right answer is, or even what a good answer might be. But between that and the privacy and the security thing, we're an advertising agency, and we deal a lot with just data rights and making sure that the end user, we're not doing anything, we're not stealing data from end users, or even
Mhm.
collecting stuff that we shouldn't have, and a lot of that has really changed the industry and how people think about advertising and digital media in general. And it's only going to get more complicated before it simplifies. But the the legal landscape is just as complicated, if not more so, than the you know the geographical landscape of every state, country, city almost has their own rules around this stuff. And we sort of left that golden age of I say golden age, but when any data was good data, right? You couldn't have enough, and that's no longer the case, right? People have a right to their own data, and everyone needs to respect that, and be considerate of what you're getting and what you're using it for.
Yeah. It's almost like we should focus at AI instead of paintings and music and things. Send that at the law side of things first. Let them figure out their own shit.
Oh yeah.
Like we got a letter from a medical provider that said we made an oopsie and wanted to do something, so we put a tracking pixel on our webpage, and now Facebook has everybody's medical record. Sorry, our bad. And it's like,
Oops.
What?
Sounds like a lawsuit.
Yeah, kind of. I want to gear up for that one because, like, you wanted to test who's clicking on your page, so you gave away all of our stuff. And Facebook, why do you want it? But
yeah.
or Meta, sorry, Meta.
Yeah, it's it is really interesting to think about just how much data somebody like Meta or Snap or TikTok has about folks and kind of the way that we interact with the world and content, and what inferences they're able to draw from it just from having that big of a data set. It's pretty wild to think about. You think of like, okay, we can get amazing, just beautiful 2D images from text based on essentially just a giant data set of imagery and text. Well, if you have an even bigger data set of text, imagery, behavior, click action, content views, like what can you generate from that, right? It's one has to, I like to think that at the end of the day, people are still people, and there are good sides and bad sides to that, but I do think that there's some really amazing opportunities for people to do good with that kind of information.
Yeah.
And hopefully we'll see that before we see the bad side.
Yeah, it would be
landscape.
Yeah.
It's like if they at least even each other out, is that enough or not? No.
Yeah. It's funny. Every time I get one of those, like, do you want to share data? Do you want to allow cookies or whatever? I have that immediate gut reaction of like, no, of course not. Why do you want that? And I don't think I'll ever quite get over that. But some of it for me is like, okay, well, do you want to live in a world where you're afraid of what people might do with your data, or do you want to live in a world where you assume people want to do good with that data?
Yeah. And so far, it appears that all they can do with it is show me shit to buy that I've already bought. So, oh well.
Yeah.
But
yeah. That I tell my wife
these He-Man toys. Got them.
You know what? You're right. I really did enjoy that He-Man toy. I tell my wife that all the time. It's like they're going to show me ads one way or another. Do I want to see an ad about a prescription medicine or something that I might actually want to buy?
Until you're used to like seeing stuff that's actually relevant, but then some jackass in the other room's talking about erectile dysfunction, and then you start seeing that, you're like, oh shit, like, no.
Somebody on TV tells a joke and your Alexa hears it, and then it's like, well.
And that's the thing, like
have,
we've kind of had this conversation way back, when we got into VR, and like Facebook's watching and this and that, and I'm like, well, yeah, the cameras, like, they map your room, but it's like you said from the start, every single person on the planet almost has a cell phone, and you can't tell me like there's not more going into that than what I'm wearing on my head. So like,
oh yeah.
Well, I get lazy with it, but my girlfriend still puts washi tape on her phone camera. When she wants to take a photo, she peels it off. So you're getting nothing from her phone. This thing's got like 8 cameras, and you can see pictures of what Facebook before it was Meta has, like a picture of like the kitchen scene, and every single shape is highlighted in a color, and it's like, this is back like kitchen wall tile. These are people. This is probably a plate of cookies with 98% accuracy, and this is a fridge, and it's like, it's in here. This thing is cracking.
Yeah, like, that's what's kind of scary with phones when you think about it. Like every other device has a slide cover, like a physical block. Why doesn't a phone have that? Like, I don't know.
And then they're putting cameras underneath the screen, so there's a camera facing you that you might not even know is there if you turn the other one off.
True.
Yeah.
Anyway,
well, and when we start wearing HMDs everywhere, there was the Google Glass holes, and people had a pretty negative reaction to that. But I do think that it's just going to be a shift in kind of how we view our privacy in public spaces. There's going to be good things for it and bad things for it. I honestly, I think it's kind of undeniable that our expectation of privacy has changed in the last 20 years. Before, everyone had the ability to walk around with a camera at all times. What we thought of as private spaces and what was acceptable was very different. I think it's going to keep evolving. We change our understanding of what is okay and what isn't with the times, and technology is a big factor in that, and I think it's going to continue to be. I don't know which way it's going to go. They're eventually, I suspect the pendulum may swing the other way, but maybe not. Maybe we all kind of just kind of throw up your hands and say, all right, let's get it all on the internet all the time. Why not? Right?
I would rebel against that, I think.
I will be there with you with my pitchfork, but I don't know. It's hard to say. There's a lot of benefits. There's some already, movements around kind of radical transparency. It'd be interesting to see what, that's the one thing I wish I had, was the ability to see the future, and see what shape things are going to be.
And I'd like to see the past, but then it's like, I feel bad for some actors. Like, they caught some photos of my boy Daniel Craig in between like Bond movies, and he had the donut belly. And it's fine. He had like, all this other stuff, and he's like just a normal guy, but he's going to go get in shape for the movie. But they drag him through the mud because he's got a paunch. Or I think even Vin Diesel was on his yacht and he had a paunch.
Yeah.
But it's like, well, that's because there's paparazzi following these guys.
Right.
And if you have one weekend where you just had a pizza and like, I had a donut every week, I've got a paunch, nobody's going to care until you get famous on Twitter or something. But then with all these records, they're going to go back in time and look up videos of you, and they're going to like, that boy had a paunch. Canceled.
Well, and that's where I'm like, how are we going to have politicians in, who grew up with, a Facebook account, right? Or, a Twitter account, and were adolescents and young people on the internet, right? Young people do stupid things. It's kind of part of being young.
Yep.
And then to have a permanent record of that for everyone to go and see and point at. And yeah, I don't know. It's going to be tough. It's going to be tough to get into politics in the next couple of years.
But regardless, whoever those politicians are going to be, Trigger's going to be around to fit him with that suit
That's right.
and Legoize their face, which is kind of fun.
Oh yeah, yeah. One of the coolest things we built was a thing for the Lego Museum in Denmark. And it's a bit of a bummer because the only way you can experience it is to fly to Denmark and go and build this thing. But you actually like build on a little plate a little Lego fish, and then put it into a scanner, and then your scanned Lego fish shows up into this giant aquarium that is just a massive like 20 by 40 foot wall. It's super cool.
Yeah,
Sounds cool.
Yeah.
I was going to ask you one of my questions. With everything you guys do, like, and being the VP of technology, I'm sure you guys play with a lot of stuff. Like, and if you don't have to tell me anything secret or anything, but like, what's one of the funnest things like you guys are just playing around with, whether you've released it or not, or like just an idea you had, or like you kind of always think of like that was really awesome, that was a lot of fun.
I think there's a couple of moments when I think of, just from the historical perspective of like, oh, whoa, that was it. Right. And I don't know if anybody remembers Google Tango. But it was, I want to say like 2016. It was after that. It was probably 19, maybe 18, somewhere in there. Anyway, it was one of the very first phones to have a LiDAR built into it. And it was, kind of a competitor to Vuforia at the time, but it was kind of like early days of AR Core, right? And you could anchor content like you can now, but way before you could. And that moment, like seeing, and we did a thing with Honda and Lego, and had kids come build stuff, and we're showing off Honda designs with it. But we would give this phone to little kids, and they would place the content, and then just like run around like little kids do, and the content would stay like rock solid anchored. And it was just like, oh my goodness, this is what VR or AR is supposed to be, right? Like, if AR ever gets to be like this on every phone out there, it's going to change the world. And we're there, and it's like, wow, okay, yeah, this is super cool. But seeing that, 5-6 years before it hit the kind of the mainstream and the mass market, that was super exciting for us. I'm trying to think what else did we do that was super cool. There's been some interesting stuff with VR in cars. And we got to do a project with VR in a car.
Yeah, I saw that on Twitter that you guys were talking about that.
Yeah, it was very early days, and it never got released or anything. But we had a headset that you would put in the back of a car, and it was receiving telemetry data from the vehicle, and it would drive you around a virtual cityscape based on where the actual car went. And it was like, you weren't driving the car while wearing the headset. That's I've seen BMW did that, but on a closed track, and it was, to me, sounded terrifying. But as a passenger, it was like the coolest roller coaster ever. And the graphics were super janky, and they didn't look great, but it was like, yeah, let's do this. Let's go around the parking lot again. Drive me through that wall. and it was just that connection between the digital and the physical, that was super cool. And you can kind of like now with the idea of autonomous vehicles and just way more connectivity than we had in the past. You can kind of start to see that, like, yeah, combine all of that with HMDs and connected systems between Internet of Everything, right? Like cars, streetlights, infrastructure at large, and suddenly the digital world becomes indistinguishable from the physical world and super well integrated. And I think that that's one of those moments where we're going to look back and say, like, yeah, that was the precursor to all of this that we kind of take for granted.
Sounds neat. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
really neat with, we were talking about pass through before, and like I've played some early things of some devs, playing with the pass through and all that. And like, it is really neat to match the physical world with the digital and kind of do things. And like, that's one thing that does excite me to, we were talking about the Quest Pro and, getting the color pass through and all that. Like, right on the fence with that one we were talking about. But yeah, it's just really neat when whether you're playing a VR game and, if it's like you're swinging a weapon or playing golf, like, feels really good. But when you can actually physically, like, if you set your digital like chair in a spot and stuff, and you can just sit down and trust that you can sit down,
Yeah.
there's just it's one of those feelings that you can't really explain, right? At least I can't. And it feels really neat and really cool and kind of like future-ish, I guess.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because like
Yeah.
the EMU VR for emulation, if you've seen that one, but you got like a 90s kid bedroom set up, and you have actual like Super Nintendo consoles with your Super Nintendo legally acquired ROMs. You pop in and you got like you're playing the game on a TV in VR, and like, I got a guest room that I think I really want to set up to be physically exactly like that room.
Yeah,
because that would be rad. And then
Yeah.
the first like Rift home would have the homes, like I remember it had the couches and things like that, and I remember trying to scoot my couch around. Like, can I get it to work? That would just be the neatest thing.
Yeah, I love the idea of, instead of having to go and physically move your physical stuff to line up with your digital stuff, just have the two, be symbiotic wherever
just
you
it
are.
sees it and it's just like places your couch there.
Yeah. We do a lot of stuff with entertainment clients. The idea that I can have Spider-Man hanging out with me on my couch watching TV, that would be super cool. We do a lot of kind of like photo ops, right? And bring them in and take a photo with me and my friends, that kind of thing. But if you look at, okay, well, can Spider-Man talk to me, right? Can I have a persistent, semi-aware and entertaining digital embodiment of that? That would be super cool. I mean, like, I don't know. Have you guys seen those R2D2 toys that have like voice activation and stuff?
You kind of follow
just
them around, you get them pathing and stuff like that.
yeah. Or you say like, "Hey R2, tell me about Darth Vader," and he'll be scared and be like, "Oh," and he'll play the Imperial March. That kind of. It doesn't have to be, like that next level super smart AI. We don't have to achieve sentience in our AI for it to be super fun and engaging. And I think we're pretty close to the point where, even just with the tools that we have, you can have really fun experiences with characters that you know and love and have them still feel like those characters. But,
if you could
in ways.
fashion having like a World of Warcraft dwarf that could sit next to me on my couch and just say stupid shit all night long and
Yeah.
call me
If you
names and
laugh at
like,
a show, he just kind of
Yeah.
mimics what you're doing. He'll start laughing at the show. That'd be funny.
that'd be awesome. Like just calling you names in that accent. Like
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we look at, okay, everybody's got, I don't know. Most people I know have some kind of, smart device somewhere, whether it's their phone or an Alexa in their, car or refrigerator or whatever. Somebody's got something they can talk to. And I think we're going to get to the point pretty soon where we're not all talking to the same for AI, right? We have the ability to kind of customize and change those in interesting ways. And you add that to the, this idea we were talking about earlier about, how content gets generated, and it's going to be a really cool and interesting world very soon, in ways that we kind of struggle to come to grips with right now.
I can't tell if he's hinting at something they're doing or just in general.
Yeah, was that a threat?
Yeah. Well, watch, that's coming. I told you first. No, it's I've seen little bits and pieces of it. Like we get to play with a lot of really interesting technology kind of before it's out. I haven't seen anything that's like, oh yes, this is that one piece that we've all been waiting for, and it's going to change the world. But you start to put enough of the pieces together, and the picture changes in big ways.
Fortunately, I have a big day tomorrow, so I'm gonna. I don't want to leave the conversation, and I want to stop it. We got an early day.
No worries. Well, yeah. Thanks for having me.
Well, I got to chat with you.
Yeah.
See you guys later. Adios.
See you, Wookiee. Have a good early day.
Yeah.
So while he exits, is there anything you want to talk about? Like, what if you guys have something upcoming you can talk about, or something like that just happened? Like anything you want to like share that you're really proud of, or like really enjoyed working on, or
man, we've done so much really fun stuff.
That's why, like, again, I just from the video and like talking to you guys, like, I don't even know how you keep track and remember half the stuff because there's just so much going on.
Yeah, we typically have anywhere from, I want to say, almost 20 to 30 projects going at any one time, and they're all pretty cool. We do a lot of work with kind of all of the stuff that when I was a kid, I was like, oh, I love that.
Nice.
And we get to work with basically all of my heroes. It's funny, so much of what we do, is in that entertainment space, and Disney is a huge part of that. So we love working with Disney. They own Marvel, so it's cool to get to work on all of the MCU stuff. Google's a big partner of ours. Verizon. We do a lot of work with Verizon. We've seen in the sizzle here, AR Pro, which is actually, I think we're probably going to sunset that this year, but that's cool because it's sports, and we got to meet some of the the world's premier athletes, and do cool stuff with them. The NFL and some of the NFL teams, and getting to do something for the Super Bowl was amazing.
Yeah, that's a big thing. Real quick, a question on that. So when you're talking to like maybe it's the players and all that, like what are the reactions from that side of the conversation when you're like, hey, we're gonna do this, and like, is it?
Yeah.
Are they blown away, or are they
It's hard to tell because they're all such really generous and they're always excited to be there, and I don't know how much of that is like their agent is, prepping them and being like, all right, you gotta do this thing or whatever. But like we've never had a bad experience where somebody's come in and just been like, you know, do what? Why? They're always like, oh, that's very cool. How do I would love to see myself in AR. You're going to capture me volumetrically and I can, place a little version of me on my tabletop and spin it around. That is awesome. How do I get this? You know, there's, and then, there are some who are super tech fans and just like anything that smells of technology, they're like, yes, I tell me how this works. How are you doing this? And then there are those who are like, I have no idea what that is, but it's very cool. I probably can't make that work on my own, but it looks neat. um, we've never
That's
had,
cool.
we've never had a bad experience with, kind of any of the celebrity talent at it. That may just be, they're very well trained and, being friendly and people focused, but it's been super cool to meet some of these folks and work closely with them. We got to work with Will I Am of the Black Eyed Peas,
Nice.
and he introduced us to kind of a whole array of hip hop legends, which was super cool.
Do you ever just find yourself in the middle of those things and be like, how did I get here? Like, what am I doing? To me, that'd be
Yeah,
mind blowing. Like,
yeah, oh yeah, like and like I'm the tech guy, so I'm not necessarily I only have to get involved if like something goes wrong. So, typically I get to kind of just sit back and watch. But yeah, there have definitely been instances where it's like I'm in a room with people who, whose net whose daily income is worth more than my net worth. It's like, wow, all right, let's do this, Um, but yeah, like I said, they're all super nice and friendly and down to earth. I've never had an experience of like go make me a coffee. Uh, it's always been really fun.
that's awesome. Sounds like a really fun environment. I mean, you guys are obviously working on stuff you are really into and enjoy. So that's half the battle. But
Oh yeah. It's it's a special place to work. We get to work on, like I said, anything that I thought as a kid growing up that it would be cool to work on that. We've got a chance to work on it. I can't think of like, oh, what is a bucket list property that we haven't got to touch yet. Um, that's it's really hard to think of like, okay, well, what is next? Um, it'll be interesting to see. What is the next one that? Oh yeah, I remember that. What was there we haven't done?
do you guys have like with different properties or titles and all that? Do you guys have like set things that like are kind of your bread and butter, and then you do these like experimental and out there things just to test and have fun with it? But like, what is kind of like your main gig, if that's the right word, with like different things, if you have one?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's interesting. What we try and do is we try and figure out what our clients need. We try and figure out, okay, what is the problem that you need us to solve? Um, a lot of times it is just creating a really fun and engaging experience so that fans can connect with, a property that they enjoy, like Superman or Ghostbusters or Jurassic World. Um, sometimes it is more on kind of the enterprise side of, okay, we have this business goal that we are trying to do. How do we use technology to do that? We like to really start kind of, and we have clients who come to us and say like, this is it exactly, right? We don't need you to figure anything out. We just need you to execute this concept for us. And, we're happy to do that. And, that concept can be as fleshed out or as bare bones as they're comfortable with, and we'll get them there. But, what we love to do is to really, partner with a client and say like, hey, look, you're trying to get into AR. You're trying to figure out what is your metaverse strategy, and you don't even know what metaverse means because really nobody does.
Yeah.
All right, let's help guide you on and figure out what are your objectives. What is your measure for success? How can we move the needle for you? How can we build that? How can we execute that? How can we measure and evolve that process for you and come up with a holistic solution that solves your problem? That's where I think, outside of our pure, like our amazing creative and our super talented and robust technical executions, outside of all that, just raw creativity, I think that's where we really excel.
Nice.
Yeah.
So
we do.
go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead. I was just gonna say, I mean, we do everything under the sun, from websites to apps to social lenses, to really just consultation and leadership. We'll do whatever fits the bill, whatever our clients need.
It's interesting, like just to like multifaceted and like, because you look at all these, like I said, different items and things, and the approach seems different. And what do you think the percentage is? Like if I'm a client, like you said, they come to you like, hey, we don't need you to do anything. This is what we're looking for.
Mhm.
I'm just curious, like, you're like, yo, we can do that. And then you kind of make like a side thing and like, well, we could also do this. And like blow their minds with something, that they weren't even expecting.
Oh yeah.
Does that happen often? Because like you said, like a lot of these people, like they hear the word, metaverse, and they're like, oh, we better get in on that, even though no one, like you
Right.
said,
Right.
nobody knows what that means.
Yeah.
They just come to you and you can kind of tell like they don't know what's going on. So that's where I was thinking like you'd pull that out and be like, how about this? And just their head goes.
For sure. Yeah. We are, it's sometimes, we've been doing this so long that we sort of forget, you know, what our level of understanding is and how it differs from someone who, is brand new to the space, or who has never heard of AR before, or doesn't know what XR means. And it is really exciting to kind of be able to open people's eyes to that and say like, hey, look, you thought you wanted something in Decentraland because you needed to check a box, right? Your boss is asking you for something, and you're like, okay, well, here, I read this on the internet. Can you do this? And to be able to say, okay, let's start from a little bit of education, figure out, okay, well, why do you think you need that? Hearing that, what do we think might be a better fit? Or, you're spot on. That's exactly what you need. Here's how we can do it. That kind of collaboration is really exciting. But, we have pitched, like I said, we've been around for 17 years. So we've pitched a lot of stuff to a lot of people. And our junk drawer of bad ideas is absolutely overflowing. And there's a lot of times where it's like, it was a bad idea for this client, but it is perfect for this other client.
Yeah.
So, we get to, or, like we were talking about earlier, where like the technology just wasn't there to execute it before, but now in 2 years, like, all right, let's dust that off because it's going to be super easy and way cooler than we thought it was going to be.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, sometimes you gotta go back to the junk drawer and just pull something out. Like, I was just
Oh yeah.
explaining the concept, like, my wife, we've been married 5 years now, and it's like I was trying to tell her, like, every house needs that junk drawer, and here's why. Like, it was funny, but like you mentioned the junk drawer of ideas and stuff like that, but like it is interesting to hear, like, whether it was technology or not a fit, but you kind of go back there, pull it out, and make it work later on, one way or
Yeah.
another. Like, it's really interesting.
Yeah.
Um,
Yep. And like there's definitely no shortage of new ideas either. You know, that's why technology is so cool, is because it's always changing, right? And we're
yeah,
always looking for that. Okay, what's next? What beta program did we get put into now? What can we build with this, that, okay, maybe we don't have a client for it, but we want to figure out, what does this mean? How could we use it? Um, and we're a growing organization, and making sure that everybody is aware of all of the new innovations and the new, the next new hotness is a challenge, right? We've got a
yeah,
ton of people who are new to the space or new to the organization, and just like, making sure that everybody is, you know armed with as much information as you can. I'm sure you're familiar with just how much drinking from the fire hose it takes to stay up on every new piece of technology.
yeah. Yeah, and I was just gonna mention, like, we normally talk to like game devs and stuff, and they're working on something for a year or two, and like, especially in VR being newer and niche like that, like, just like the menu system, like Half-Life Alyx, for
Hmm.
example, is like the most popular VR game, you could argue. But they were working on it so long, like that menu system is a flat menu system that, again, kind of pulls you out of the immersion, but you can't really get around that. You're working on it.
Sure.
Whereas, like, with what you guys do, it seems like, and I don't know, like, if one project takes 6 months, a year for you, I don't know, but it seems like you guys are maybe able to move a little faster. It's a different space, obviously, from game dev, but it
Hmm.
seems like you can turn things around a little quicker and actually like implement newer technology a lot quicker than other practices that are kind of in a similar space. That's got to be exciting, but both, like you're saying, like, you have to then stay on top of what is hot and new, and what makes
Hmm.
sense, and keep ride that dragon or catch them at least.
Yeah. Yeah. Our projects do tend to be smaller than games, just because, we're dealing with advertising budgets, not,
Yeah.
AAA studio money, which would be amazing. If there's a AAA studio money out there, call me. But, we do to build, smaller, faster things. And there's a spectrum, right? Like a Snapchat lens is going to be faster than typically a website, and a website is going to be faster than a full blown app, and a full blown app is going to be faster than a big VR experience. Um,
Yeah.
so there's a spectrum, but it is, advertising is all about being first. Um, so there is, it is very much swim or die, and you
Yeah.
have to be always trying to push the bounds and figure out what is the next thing to be first at, um, and to kind of like have that drive for innovation and novelty in your DNA is really exciting. Um, and you really just can't ever rest and be like, okay,
Yeah.
we're just going to do that again and again and again.
Yeah.
Um, you know, I think maybe someday we'll get to the point where we have products like that, and it is just kind of a widget, right? And we just you
Sure.
want the widget, here's the widget. But everything we do is so bespoke and so customized to fit the needs of our clients, that we really do have to um, keep pushing those boundaries every single time, which is super fun, but also very challenging.
Yeah. Well, It has been awesome talking to you. I have many more questions we can save for another time, but I also don't
Yeah,
want to hold you
sure.
hostage. We got started a little late, so make sure you're not. I don't want to be your entire evening because that's not fun for anybody. But
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for having me. Yeah, it's
yeah,
been great.
I appreciate you guys reaching out and chatting and joining us and sharing your time and your stories. Like again, so much more to talk about and going on, but I'm really, as a VR person, when I see you guys doing this, like I said in the start, bringing technology to the masses and all that, and helping things get adopted quicker, that's really awesome. But
Yeah.
seems like you guys, obviously you've been around 17 years, you know what you're doing and you do it really well. And like some of these apps, like, and I'm a technology person, it's like I haven't even seen some stuff that's just on their sizzle reel where it's like, that's really cool, like, and go check those things out. So anyone
Yeah.
watching, listening, like always, I'll have links in the show notes on both the video and audio, and like, check out their website, Trigger XR, and see what they do. And um again, like, I don't know what you got planned next, but just like having the Super Bowl stuff going on and stuff like that's, I don't know, that's got to be so exciting. That's so huge. I'm not even a sports person, and you know, I don't know. That's just, you guys kind of blow my mind. Like, you guys are starting talking to me, and I was like looking into things. I'm like, holy crap! Like, there's just more stuff here, and like,
Oh yeah.
it's got to be exciting. And you guys, I'm glad to hear like that just sounds awesome. Like you're getting to play with stuff that you loved as a kid, and like work with those titles and franchises and stuff. So
Yeah, for sure.
yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. Well, and thank you. And if you ever want to hear just some really interesting war stories about any of these projects, let me know, and I'll let you know how the soup got made.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Because like again, we're obviously in VR right now, so like definitely always interested in AR, and it's fun to check out on phones and stuff. But my excitement is merging the two and really like the future of that, because I think they complement each other so well. There's so many possibilities, and the companies are doing such great jobs. We're getting to everyone's dream of that compilation of both, to where like, again, I don't want to, I'll just keep repeating what we've said, but like just seeing where all this technology is going to take us and where we land with it. So again, man, just thanks again for your time. Check out Trigger XR. There's so much going on. Like we were saying, Lego ties. I don't know what the proper word is. Lego size yourself and play with all the mini games and stuff. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for having me.
Yep. Thanks everyone for watching, listening, and hanging out. Check us out. Links in the show notes, and we'll be back next week. But again, Danny Sparks, sorry, from Trigger XR.
Yep. Thanks again. We'll talk again soon.
Yeah.